Bima tonight exactly, but he will be here. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. We are joined by our accompanist, Ricky Reinhardt. We have a few announcements to begin tonight. On November 22nd at 4:30 is the Interfaith Council of Southern Nevada's Interfaith Thanksgiving service. More information and the registration link is on our website, as is pretty much everything. Adult education for this upcoming week due to Thanksgiving, no midrashim that will surprise you. But there is on Tuesday at 5:30, Rabbi Olsheim will teach what's Jewish about Thanksgiving. November 24th at 7 p.m. is movie trivia night with our membership committee over Zoom. And December 3rd, this one's really exciting. They're all really exciting, but this one's exciting because we have our artist in residence that happened to be unfortunately canceled this past year due to COVID. She's joining us virtually for this really special Hanukkah holobake to teach, to make music with us. That's December 3rd at 6 p.m. You can find out more info on our website and sign up for that. It's gonna be really lovely. Religious school is virtual again this week. We hope to be back in person as soon as it is safe. And for anything else, check lvnertamid.org. But I think it's time that we bring in the light of Shabbat. So let us begin with calling upon our angels with Shalom Aleichem, a special melody for this very special week that comes, this week of Thanksgiving. And if you're joining us in your Siddur, we are on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharit, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharit, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue now on page 120 as we bring in the light of Shabbat. We read together on 121, O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. And even though we are not physically in this sanctuary tonight, we are all here together, sharing in the beauty of our physical space and our spiritual home together. And so we light our Shabbat candles. If you have them nearby, please light them with me.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu
And now we welcome the Shabbat Bride with Lecha Dodi, page 138, using a melody that is so beautiful by Cantor Stephen Richards. We will sing verses 1, 2, and 9. Verse 9. We remain standing for our Baruch Hu, our call to worship. We ask ourselves, are you ready to pray? And we answer in response, yes, I am ready to pray. And we rise with our respect to God. Page 146. We remain standing as we prepare for the Shema. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. We continue responsively on page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form?
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malechoto,
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. If you are still standing, please be seated. We continue with Ve'ahavta on page 152. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Let them keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. We continue with Michamocha, our song of freedom, our song of thanks.
וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
If you are preparing to lie down to sleep tonight, we think of this prayer. I asked the Hebrew school kids on Tuesday, the students, what do you fear in the middle of the night? Is there a monster under your bed? Somebody in your closet? Are you afraid of the dark? So instead of being afraid, we can think of this prayer asking God to shelter us and protect us as we lie down tonight. Perhaps you're not going to bed for a few hours, but maybe it'll remain resonating in your head so that when you do lie down tonight, you think of the words of Hashkivenu and you ask God, please protect me with the shelter of your peace. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Our next prayer is about the joy of Shabbat. May we all find joy beginning tonight all the way through these 25 hours of Shabbat after the sun sets tomorrow and the stars come out in the sky. May we have those hours of joy and of peace in our lives. And so we sing the Vishamru to say, let us all keep Shabbat and let it be a special one.
Shabbat לדורותם, ברית עולם נפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Last time, let me hear it. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
All right, now you're in the Shabbat mood. So at this time, we rise again for the tefillah, for the Amidah, the standing prayer. It's a series of prayers that on Shabbat is 7 prayers long, where we have these themes of our ancestors, of God's strength and holiness. And our last prayer is our prayer for peace. So we rise and we complete these prayers tonight silently, but we begin with a preparatory prayer. Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Pray as if everything depended on God, and act as if everything depended on you. We take this moment, these moments, for silent reflection. You can use the words on pages 166 through 180, or the words within your heart, or a little bit of both. When you have completed your prayers, please be seated. At this time in our service, we think of those who are in the bed of illness. We think of those who need extra prayers of strength and healing. You can submit them in the chat now, share them with those who are watching tonight, so that we can be stronger together in our prayers for all of those who need them. We especially think about in our community, Amy Bennett DeFrank, Barbara Baum, Paul Schiffman, Alyssa Polis, Lane Olaf, Ruth Golden, Jeff Wayne, Irving Zide, and so many others who are healing, who are struggling at this time. We say a Mishaberach for all of them, for all of you.
Before us, help us find
May all of you in need of healing find that source of strength and comfort, and may you be as resilient as you ever were before, maybe even more so. At this time, we turn to our Devar Torah, our words of Torah from Rabbi Axelrod.
Well, good Shabbos, everyone. So, I'm back at work. It's been a long couple of weeks. First I got the COVID, then my wife got it, and so it's taken a while for both of us to be cleared and be negative. But during that amount of time, we really appreciate everyone's support. For 7 days, I had very little appetite, and the next 7 days, I more than made up for it. So thank you to everyone who participated in that meal train, and to our sisterhood, and to Temple Board, and of course, Cantor Hutchings and Rabbi Olshine and my office staff all went above and beyond to make sure that I had nothing to worry about except to try to deal with this fatigue and cough and all the things that come with COVID. But I'm back. And you know, it's one of those things, you can't, everyone says, well, take it easy, you know, just kind of slide back into it. Well, it's not that simple. Once people know you're back, all of a sudden the phone rings, the Zoom meetings start, people call you, and you're back on that rabbinic treadmill. But one of the things that I was missing, of course, was teaching. I've been teaching a class in Midrash that will surprise you, and then I had this privilege of teaching a class for our conversion class. And we have a core teacher, Ayelet Blitt, who teaches our conversion students. She's done so amazingly so for 13 to 15 years. And I pop in and teach classes every now and again and meet individually with the students. And no matter what I try, whether it's by Zoom or in person, they're always a little bit nervous. I said, what is it about being a rabbi that you make people nervous? So hopefully, you know, they're gonna learn to relax. That's the main thing. So what did I talk to them about, my conversion students? First, I always ask if they have questions, and most of the time they don't. But then every once in a while they do, and there are these really technical kinds of questions, like, why do we have 4 New Years? Or why is it that the Jewish holiday falls on the such and such month, but yet it's considered the first month today? And they are trying to prepare for this test. So when they appear before the Beit Din, they're going to be successful. And without fail, they all feel that way. So I looked at them and I said, I'm going to tell you the secret to the whole thing. The test is not about whether you get these answers right or wrong. The test is the whole journey to becoming Jewish. The test is life itself. And they look at me and wonder whether I'm kidding or teasing, but I'm very serious. I'm serious in the sense that it's one thing to learn how to practice Judaism. It's another on what it means to be a Jew and to grow with your Judaism. And so a class like this is just a little bit of a start, and it's to propel them into a life of learning, of prayer, of Jewish practice, and a sense of fulfillment. But that's not just true of conversion students. If I had my way, it's really true of everyone who's a member of this congregation, that we would study our Judaism, take it seriously, and that the Jew who we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, is not the same as we are today. We've learned new things, we've decided to experiment with new Jewish practices, and we let the values of our tradition speak to us. Well, this week's Torah portion, let me tell you, this one is about life, really, or the journey that we take in life. We all need a sense of purpose, and to me, this Torah portion called Toldot is one that speaks to the heart of what it means to develop a life of purpose. It's one that starts with twins who are fighting and wrestling in their mother's womb. And eventually Esau will be born, and then Jacob. Essentially, they're fraternal twins. And usually you would think twins would be very close, but these two brothers are very different. And one is favored by the father, and one is favored by the mother. And as the story develops, we find that Jacob, whose name is Yaakov, which literally means heel, is not necessarily the nicest of people. And he's the second born, he's the baby, he's a little bit spoiled, he's favored by his mother. And then there's Esau, who's more this rigorous, manly man, who's the hunter, and he is supposed to inherit the birthright. But it doesn't really mean that much to him. And that sets the tone for the whole story. Who receives the birthright? Does it matter whether this birthright is given through deceit, or must it be earned, and must it be merited? And what happens when family members betray one another? All of those things are part of this week's Torah portion, and they play themselves out not just in this week's Torah portion, but in next week's and the weeks following, leading Jacob on this journey where he learns the impact of his decisions, the consequences of his decisions, and what it means to understand what it means to develop a life of meaning. Now, in the early chapters of Genesis, we find that there's Adam and Eve, and we all know the story where Adam and Eve eat of the fruit of the tree, and all of a sudden they're imbued with a sense of self, and they know that they have no clothes, and they're embarrassed, and they put on fig leaves. That goes back to the basic story of Genesis. And they were told not to do that. But now they're ashamed, and now they're aware, and now they're understand that they didn't do what God asked of them. And so God says, "Where are you?" And the patriarch said, "What kind of question is that? God, who's all-knowing," and by the way, there's only two human beings anyways, is saying, "Where are you guys?" Like, where would they be? There's only two people in the universe. So they say, you know what? It's not that God did not know where Adam and Eve were. It was a rhetorical question. And he was saying to Adam and to Eve, where are you? Where are you in life? What meaning? What is the meaning of your life? Is it about honesty, or is it about deceit? Is it about developing a life of meaning, or is it about hiding from your sense of spirituality and from your God? That occurs with Adam and Eve. They were pagans. It's not a Jewish story. That's a human story. But when we come to the story of Jacob and Esau, or Esau and Jacob, this week's portion, we find that theme repeating itself again. And it's repeated for a good reason, because the theme of where are you is the theme of the Torah itself. It's not just about learning all of the mitzvot, learning, how to do every single little mitzvah. It's about developing a system of life where when you grow with the mitzvot, you grow as a human being. And that essentially, a life that is not examined is not worth living. That is a paraphrase, if you will, of the philosopher Socrates. This is what he said. The unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living for a human being. An unexamined life is not worth living, and an unexamined faith is not worth holding. The unexamined life may not be worth living, but the life too closely examined may not be lived at all. Writing is an act of hope. In other words, processing your ideas is a way to grow and to have a sense of hopefulness. Well, I talked a little bit about the dysfunctional household of Jacob and Esau and his parents, and eventually it comes to a head when Jacob appears before his father at a time when his father is basically blind, and his mother has put sheepskin on his arms so that his blind father would reach out and touch him and get confused and not understand which son appeared before him. And he would give the blessing to Jacob, thinking it was Esau. And what does he say? He says in Genesis 27:18, Jacob goes to Isaac, who is now old and having difficulty seeing, at least with his eyes. Rebekah, who's dressed Jacob to be like Esau, with his birthright in hand. Jacob now seeks the blessing of his father. He goes to Isaac, and Isaac asks, Mi ata bani? Who are you, my son? Or which of my sons are you? It could be taken both ways. There's a little bit of a difference between the two of them, is there not? And so I prefer, who are you, my son? Mi ata bani. The Eitz Chaim commentary on the Torah says that the Hebrew literally asks, son, do you have a sense of self? It was as if Isaac, though blind, could still see beneath the deceit. His son was in front of him. He was going to give him a blessing. But the whole question of, son, do you know who you are? Do you know what you're doing? You're going to have to live with this decision your whole life, is such an important one. And so he does receive the blessing, and it results in him having to leave his household, because when Esau finds out, he's mad as Dickens and swears that when dad dies, he's going to kill his brother. And he's serious. And so Jacob is forced to flee for his life. And so begins Jacob's journey. And what will happen to him is what he did to his brother. He's going to get married, but at first he'll marry the wrong woman. He'll be tricked by his uncle. His uncle will trick him in other ways as well. And finally, Jacob will understand that honesty, integrity, his word, his love of family is really what brings meaning to his life. And he decides to return home. So not in this week's Torah portion, but in next, we're going to see Jacob and Esau reunited. But before that happens, we'll see that that Jacob wrestles with God. And when he does that, it's also a wrestling with his conscience. And we understand that he is changed as a human being. And that even as he is changed as a human being, he learns to ask himself again and again, who are you? Who are you? And so I think the importance of this week's Torah portion is to be able to look into this mirror of who we are at a given point in life, but throughout various points of our life, so that we understand that part of the value and gift of Judaism is understanding that it's a gift that changes as we change, informs as we desire to learn, and that it seeks to give meaning to our life as we search for life's meaning. Well, my friends, I hope that this message touches your heart. Every time I study this week's Torah portion, it always touches mine. It's so important, family, is it not? We may have our squabbles. We may find that there are times when we like each other more than others. But ultimately, family and the bond that brings family together is one of the true gifts of what brings meaning to life. Sometimes there are troubles within families and it can't be repaired. But we find an example of Jacob and Esau, who both struggled. They struggled with their past. They struggled with what it meant to inherit a blessing, what it meant to earn a blessing, and ultimately what it meant to be truly a family and care about one another. And that statement of a warm embrace between Esau and Jacob says it all. And so in the week to come, we'll embrace around the holiday of Thanksgiving. It'll be different than in years past. Maybe it'll be that we'll be in different cities, or we'll be by Zoom, or maybe at our table we'll just have 2 or 3 people instead of a table of 15 or 20. But let us give thanks for the gifts of family, of friendship, and for the people who bring meaning to our life. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Rabbi. I hope to be next to you next week, back in person, together at least, hopefully our congregation soon as well. I've definitely been missing my partner in prayer. And so now we begin to conclude our service with Aleinu, page 586. We rise. We're going to do something a little bit different tonight. We're going to read the interpretive reading that is on page 589 together. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Oh, may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And now we turn to our prayers of Kaddish and of Yortzeit, to think of those who we have lost in this world. We go to our own Kaddish list here in our congregation. Again, please share those names in the chat of those you are thinking of tonight for Kaddish and Yortzeit, and may you be surrounded by love and strength by those who join you in this service. We think of Joan Webb, Barbara Carroll, Janet Schlesinger, Barry Gordon, Gary Downs, Joan Gardner, Carol Frank, Dolores D. Bale, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Dick Granich. And we say our Yartzites for Irene Bachrach, Ethel Biegelman, Arnold Bennett, Pearl Bennett, Helene Bernberg, Viola Bowler, Jackie Box, Benjamin Brown, Bess Butwinick, Jacob Cohen, Harold Buddy Darling, Manuel Eisenberg, Harvey Eisenberg, Mark Neil Feston, Nathan Fisher, Jackie Fleekop, Murray Freeman, Stanley Freeman, Shirley Gallen, Eddie Glasser, Abraham Goldberg, Jack D. Israel, Melvin Johnson, Julius Collar, Frida Levine, Harry Levy, Rolla Lieb, Janice Liebling, Eddie Marshall, Ida Malinsky, Sarah Moreno, William Moses, Morris Munich, Hania Oderberg, Lena Rakov, Anita Rappaport, Molly Roman, Mildred Roth, Peter Sassner, Danny Schall, Jeffrey Schifrin, Melvin Cerno, Martin Sussin, Terry Topman, Harold Turk, Joseph Waterman, Sam Weiss. And we add all of the names that you have now added in our chat and are also the ones that are in your heart and mind. These are not just names. These are people who made an impact on our life. Looking at these names on this particular list, I can think of just even Jackie Fleekop, who made such an impact on my life. But there are so many here that have touched us. Let us recite these names with a full heart, and let their memory be a blessing to us all. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all Israel, to all the world, to which we say, amen. At this time, we will say our thank yous. We thank Ricky for being here to accompany me in the service, bringing his beautiful music. We thank Lee for setting everything up. We're going to say Kiddush and Motzi in just a moment. And there also are winners from a few weeks ago when we were in person, people who guessed who the cardboard cutouts were. So we're going to announce those next week. I know we were supposed to do it last week, but we're keeping you on the edge of your seat. There's also going to be those Hanukkah masks that are available. Please wear your mask. It is so important. We all want to be back together. We want this to be gone, and we want to be able to greet each other for Shabbat face to face. And we are so glad to report that Rabbi has mended and is negative now, and he can join us again very soon. And we hope that anyone else that is struggling with COVID-19 is on the mend as well. So we say our Kiddush, thanking God for the sweetness of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. And I may have forgotten to, or not forgotten, there was no holo sign up for this week. So if you have a chance to bake or you would like to sponsor and buy, there is a sign up on our website. Please do that. But because we didn't have anyone sign up this week, we got to bring out a really special challah from the freezer. I think this is a Trisha Starr challah, which she is one of our challah queens of Henderson. Happens to be round, but you know, it's a holiday this week with Thanksgiving coming up, so that's okay. And I'm sure it is just as delicious as it was when it was freshly baked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Still delicious. What did we do without freezers? I don't really know. Okay. Our concluding prayer will be Enk Eloheinu on page 626, an oldie but a goodie. This melody comes from an old German drinking song, and it still is a favorite, and we call it traditional, and we love to sing it, so please sing along with me. Enk Eloheinu, Enk Adonenu, Enk Eloheinu, Enk Moshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom. We will see you for Torah study at 8:45 and services at 9:45, followed by our third hour study. And then we will see you for virtual religious school on Sunday at 11 a.m. for all classes. And we will see you for Shabbat in the Round music next Friday night after Thanksgiving. Wishing you a beautiful Thanksgiving. Please be safe, keep things small, and may you be blessed with lots of gratitude and lots of love this holiday, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving season that we are beginning this week. Shabbat Shalom.